have with us Mrinalika Bhanjdeo. She's the princess of Mayurbhanj, which is a state in Orissa, and doing lot more to bring royalty, which wasn't very popular earlier, but now it's right on the map. We're going to be, and we're very excited to have her for our fourth edition of PeakLife Women Inspire Awards. These awards are curated to felicitate, women achievers like her. Here she is. Very warm welcome to you, Mrinalika ji.
Thank you so much, Princey. Thank you for actually having me on this platform and sharing a couple of, my experiences in the journey that I've had so far.
Yeah. So, both you and your sister have been instrumental in bringing the prestigious Belgadia Palace into the forefront of tourism in Orissa. Tell us about this initiative and what led you to, this idea.
Sure. So both me and my sister, very quickly, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a background for both of us because
Yes.
I think it will be help you in understanding,
Yes. Yes.
the path that we actually chose ultimately. So we both actually finished our schooling from Calcutta and then went on to Singapore and then of course went to the States for our college.
Right.
And of course, through travels and exposure, we actually, we used to go visit museums. We used to go to different places in Europe where they very well, kept their heritage alive. And it's really nice sometimes to see the kind of, the different places and the kind of rich heritage that they also have and how they manage to still keep it alive through museums, to arts, through just colonial structures in itself.
Yes.
And I remember one incident which happened in college, and it was actually me and my roommate. We were just relaxing after a days of college work, and she was just showing me she was working on art history, that was her major. So she was showing me all these really beautiful architectural styles which were prevalent in Europe at that time, which is still today. And I was like, you know what, the architecture seems really familiar to something that I have. And she looked at me and she's like, Mrinalika, but this is Victorian and Roman architecture, Greek architecture. And she starts explaining to me a little bit about what the architecture is. And I was like, no, this looks very similar to the kind of house grandmom lives in. Like, we go there every year. And I showed her pictures of the Belgadia Palace, and she was like, wow, where is this? And I was like, oh, it's in Orissa. It's actually my hometown, and that's where I'm from. And she was actually Jordanian, studying art history in University of Virginia.
Right.
And that's when suddenly we started talking about it, and I started, researching a little bit more about my own history. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. Like, somebody from college just gave me a really brilliant idea that I had something like a gold mine sitting in my backyard. And I think that, from there, just through conversations and the exposure that I got in my growing up years, that it actually channeled into developing Belgadia Palace. So the one thing that my sister and I were really convinced about was that we had to not just, sell Belgadia as a single entity, but actually as a collective entity. And that is the first thing that we kind of got, started working towards, which was to get the community in order as well, not just the property. Of course, the property is there, it's beautiful, it has these rooms. My grandparents did a wonderful job in setting it up. It was never a dilapidated house, so it's not that we had to work up from scratch. It was already existing. And it was a very, very much lived in house of ours. Right. So we started working at the grassroots level with handicraft artisans, with dying art forms like Chow, which is this local folk dance and martial arts dance combined. And these are the initiatives we started working on side by side while, a couple of changes were happening at the palace. And that is the one thing I think that, I'm really glad that we actually pushed through, because you couldn't just sell Belgadia as a single entity. You had to sell Belgadia as a destination. And the one goal that we decided as a family and as me and my sister started this was that we were going to bring Mayurbhanj, an entire district, on the map. So researching the waterfalls, the second largest waterfall of India is located in Mayurbhanj. It's in Simlipal National Park, which is 30 minutes from the property. So, we have some of the most, ancient, as well as like 14th century ruins, which is again 20 minutes away from the property. We have a really famous Jagannath temple 5 minutes from my property. And it actually is just a few feet, actually not even feet. It's a centimeter or two smaller than the Puri Jagannath temple, just to
Oh,
pay homage to that. So
oh,
there is such interesting, structures as well as history, because India has always been rich and very diverse in its history and culture. And Mayurbhanj has also been very, very rich. And I feel like my ancestors were very proud of being Orias and Mayurbhanjis. And we really wanted this region to thrive because there was something very special about this. I feel like that's why Orissa has the tag, India's best kept secret.
yes,
Because
yes.
I feel like we haven't yet received, haven't really potential, and now is the process to make our way so that everybody in India knows about Orissa. Because surprisingly, when you say you're from Orissa, the first question is, where is that?
Oh,
Is that, and no, and it's a hidden gem located in the east, which sometimes people get mixed up with South India, or they're like, oh, that's somewhere down south, or
right.
that's somewhere up north, and it's a very people are still a bit vague about where Orissa really is. So for us, it has been super challenging, not just to talk about Belgaria, but also to sell the entire idea of what it would be like to come to a place like Mayurbhanj and of course Orissa.
I think that runs in the blood. Isn't that what the royal families were about? Taking care of the community as a whole. They were like this torchbearer for the progress of the whole people, their people. I think it's in the blood, and that's the right calling that you're following. But that brings me to the next question. Like you rightly said, when we talk about India and the royalty, it automatically gets connected to Rajasthan. It,
Correct.
sometimes maybe some other parts in bits and pieces, but largely Rajasthan. So if I say that I'm going to, I want to enjoy, Baripara royalty,
Correct.
what is
Correct.
the experience that I'm in for?
So the idea behind this, I'll tell you, I'll explain it to be very simply. So
Hmm.
Rajasthan has got the idea of the word luxury,
Right,
gets luxury hospitality
right.
has been completely taken away by Rajasthan.
Yeah,
So, when someone says that, oh, I'm going to go to a luxury palace or a luxury heritage stay, people immediately say, oh, that's probably going to be in Rajasthan. And you'll get a couple of hotels right there because they've really got that right. I mean, it's taken them years of practice and, of course, being consistent with doing what they were doing, and they were good at it. So
right,
they really aced that game for sure. Whereas in the East, I feel like it's something that's a bit new. But what we are doing as individuals, and also, working with different families, again in the royal circle, as well as other properties which are probably located in West Bengal, we're actually trudging the way of saying that we are interested in what we would call a luxury experiential travel. So
right.
when you come to the property, you are of course greeted with a conch shell blowing and an arti, which is done by one of the lovely ladies clad in a red and white sari.
Mm-hmm.
You also get part of your package, or you get to see, of course, taste the Oriya cuisine, which is something you get during your lunchtime, during your
Right,
stay here,
right.
which is again really beautiful. It's presented well in a thali. You have someone who explains a little bit about the kind of food, and it's all locally sourced. So we
Mm-hmm.
don't really, when you come here, you're coming in for the local dishes and the taste, because
Right.
when you go back, you're actually leaving with a piece of Mayurbhanj.
Right.
Apart from that, you also have the chow dance, which is again a
Oh,
beautiful
yes.
experience. It's this war dance which takes place in the evening in the in the midst of the mango orchards. And this dance is also special to the family because one of the war dance sequence was actually choreographed by my great great Shri Ramchandra Bhanjdeo.
Oh,
So, the war dance is also sort of it came out from what we call the Paika rebellion, right?
oh,
So
yes.
at that time, of course, they couldn't say that they were actually, engaging in warfare or they were practicing for that. So they basically said, this is actually a dance form. We're
Right,
just dancing. We're
right.
not doing anything else. We're not preparing for war because, of course, the British officials would ask, like, what are you all doing? And with these
Mm,
swords and these shields, and they were like, we're just preparing a dance. Like, this is
right.
it. And the war dance was actually even performed in 1918 in Calcutta in front of King George V.
Oh,
So, it goes again, all the kind of handicrafts, the arts that we showcase at the property has history which dates back to thousands, like hundreds of years, and that's what makes it so special. And
right.
they all have a direct link with the family in some way or the other.
Yes.
So the next day, you wake up, you probably go bird watching. We have about 18 different species of birds which you'll find in and around the property.
Okay.
Um, After that, you would have a nice little meal, maybe by the swimming pool, or in one of the tea gardens. And then you move in maybe to one of the village clusters. Now,
Right.
most of these village clusters are comprised of different tribal groups. So we have about 40% of Mayurbhanj population is the tribal population. And
Oh,
one such group, which is the Bathri tribe, they coexist in this little small cluster, 30 minutes from the property. And
right.
they basically weave these really beautiful sabai baskets. Now,
Wow.
sabai grass has a lot of similarities with the grass which grows in Africa. And you see these very colorful, baskets which are woven very beautifully by women in Africa.
Oh,
Similarly, the women, back in the day, there's a story which goes that actually Sriram Chandra, when he used to go to Madagascar, actually brought back some of this grass and grew it in
oh,
Mayurbhanj because he
oh,
realized that it could actually be a source of livelihood for the people here. So
right.
initially, the weaving of this grass was only done to make ropes.
Okay.
However, now with time, there's been innovation and R&D put into it, and now they can make different like table mats, coasters, bags, and beautiful looking, bowls and baskets as well.
Wow. So, that brings this is I'm so enamored. This so much honesty has, I'm so glad that you brought it out on this platform, which actually brings me to my next question, which is about the environmental, you're associated with a lot of environmental issues and around your area also. Please shed some light on those that you can talk about.
So in 2016, I actually went for my first yoga teacher training program, and
Okay.
it was mainly something that I wanted to do for myself. And I basically felt really like a spiritual calling, and I wanted something which would actually ground me. And
Right.
at a young age of 22, 23, I just had a lot of ideas that I wanted to, spiral and head spear. So I was like, maybe yoga is going to help me because I didn't know which one to.
Right.
I had all these ideas. I wanted to start a heritage hotel. I also wanted to get into yoga. I wanted to also get into a cafe. Wanted to grow my own fruits and vegetables. So there was just a lot, and I needed something which would just center and ground me
Right.
and just help me channel my ideas into a way that they could all collide in one space. So when Belgaria started, it actually became that melting pot for all my ideas to facilitate as
Mm-hmm.
well. So we do have in the property, our own small garden patch. However, right now it's not big enough to supply vegetables to the entire property,
Mm-hmm.
including the guests as
Mm-hmm.
well as the family and the
Mm-hmm.
staff. So right now it's only meant for the family and the
Okay.
staff. However, we are planning to, upgrade that to another level, maybe get into hydroponics to an extent, just so that we can get enough supply for all year round and for the entire property. So it kind of becomes this farm to table
Yes.
concept as
Yes.
well. And of course, like, in the property itself, we've kind of minimized the use of plastic. So we've kind of replaced that with sabai grass itself. So
Oh,
most of the laundry baskets, the dustbins in your room, they're all just made of natural fiber, natural grass. And once, of course, they don't have a large shelf life, but once they are done, you kind of just throw them back into the earth and they kind of dissolve. They don't do any damage whatsoever. And we pick up new stuff from the ladies all the time. So that's a recurring, exchange of goods that keeps
yeah.
going on in Belgaria itself, because we don't want it to completely, because of course, converting a home into a hotel already comes with that kind of
Yes.
environmental damage,
Yes.
because suddenly you have your air conditionings,
Yes.
you have your fridges which take care. So there is certain things which, of course, you need those modern amenities because you are running it at that level. However, there are certain things that you can still do to kind of create a
Right.
balance. Now, I wouldn't say that I'm completely on the other side, but I'm saying that I would like to create a balance. So be it in terms of like next year, we're actually doing a couple of water harvesting projects on the
Okay.
property. And we're also in talks with the government to basically initiate the solar panels for us. So
Oh,
at least we would like at least 30% of the power to be generated on the solar panels itself. And then slowly, as the years go by, we would like to add more panels and get more, solar energy into the property itself. However, water harvesting is something that we've already pretty much concluded, and we're going
right.
to be probably starting the process early next year. So, and now with the entire climate change, it's
Yes.
something that's led to a global pandemic as well,
Right.
and it's come onto the forefront. So it's something that we need to do on an individual level, because
Yes.
I feel like it's very easy to say that, no one else is doing it, but I feel like individual actions lead to collective consequences. And that is something that we really have to be mindful of.
That is true. That is true. So very well put. You're also an entrepreneur. So, I would like to know about your ventures, which is Hartha Beauty and Has Atelier. So how did this come about? Too
So I
many
think
people.
Hasa,
Yeah.
so Hasa Atelier.
Okay.
So we actually, it was during the pandemic, and we went to some of our Sabai handicraft clusters, and the lady actually had surplus amount of products which they were just keeping in their warehouse because a lot of the orders got
Oh.
cancelled due to COVID. So COVID literally struck, and the government basically lockdowns for 3 months, hours extended for about, whose main livelihood also depends on the products which are being sold. So my sister and I decided to probably just open up, Instagram page, which was called Hasa Atelier. And we decided to just sell and market some of these products, which they already had at surplus. Now that kind of did pretty well. So we basically spearheaded another project, which was like, we create these small capsules which would then be pushed out only on our Instagram. That also started getting quite a few, eyeballs, and we started getting a couple of orders. We started giving out Diwali orders for baskets for like 300 pieces, 500 pieces. So we're like, fine, there is a shift in the wants of the consumer, and the consumer is also moving sustainable box. Now they're going for a more sustainable option as well. So that was a good shift that we also realized based on the orders that we were getting. And of course, a couple of hoteliers who we had interacted with, they also took large quantities of the sabai, like the laundry baskets, the coasters, the table mats for their own hotels. So, those things really also helped us understanding the market and the shift that you're seeing in a buying pattern in India. And at the same time, we were pretty excited that we were able to at least safeguard some of their livelihoods for X amount of time post the pandemic as well. So the cluster consists of about 100 women, out of which some of them, sabai is their only source of livelihood. Others, of course, may be working and tilling the fields as well. And the second one, which is the Hartha Beauty box, actually came about because Aishwarya, who is the founder of Global Beauty Secrets, a company which is already established in Mumbai, she wanted to do a collaboration with me. And of course, me being from Mayurbhanj and having, anything to do with Mayurbhanj, or, to talk about things that I've grown up with, and like, beauty rituals that my family and I have grown up with, it's very easy for me to talk about it because we still practice those things today. So I feel like with Hartha Beauty Box came about because I was really inspired by the flora and fauna which grow in and around Mayurbhanj as well as in Belgadia. So we came across, we basically decided on launching 3 products. So the first product was basically the mahua oil. So mahua is this plant which again grows in Mayurbhanj and most of the villages. And we were like, it has, it really helps in clearing up the skin, soothing the skin, and it's very good for people who have extremely dry skin. And again, during the winter months, if you want to just apply it instead of putting any kind of like toner, like a glow, because it gives you a natural glow in the first skin. So it basically is something that it was based, the key ingredient is hibiscus, and all of this is again a very clean beauty line. We've not put any chemicals at all. It's all made of of course, like organic olive oil and organic ingredients completely. So the hibiscus is something that, my mom and the ladies of Mayurbhanj and the royal family have always used in terms of putting it into their hair oil. So the hibiscus petals is something that we always used in our hair oils for, of course, adding volume, and also because when I was born with literally like 4 strands of hair, and this is what has come out of my mom literally massaging this hibiscus hair oil into my scalp, literally.
So we
So hibiscus was a key ingredient, and this entire process was explained to Aishwarya and her team, who then came about
Okay.
candle, which was a mix of lemongrass and sandalwood. Sandalwood is something that is also available in my backyard in Belgaria. My grandmother liked to basically, we are also, she was very
Okay.
spiritual, and we have a
All
temple in
right.
the property itself. So all the offerings in terms of like the
Right.
chandan, the sandalwood, or flowers, everything comes out of the garden in Bulgaria.
Oh,
So to keep that system alive, we've always grown. We have a lot of hibiscus trees. Literally, my grandmother's only wish was that she wanted all colors of hibiscus growing in her gardens, all
wow.
colors of bougainvilleas to grow in her garden, and she loves her sandalwood. So, when Ashwarya came here, I was like, two things. I love my lemongrass and I love my sandalwood, and let's infuse
Oh,
this to make a soy wax candle as well. So that was the third thing that we actually
okay.
ultimately collaborated on. And it was really nice because it was a homage to, of course, the beauty rituals that have been practiced by the ladies of Mayurbhanj and the royal family. And in a way, it was also a remembrance box mimics the entrance of the Belgaria Palace. So
Oh,
when you open up that door,
oh, wow. That's a beautiful packaging. A lot of thought. So, at this age, you've been doing so much. You're leading from the front, if I may say. You're the leader. Do you think that, being a woman leader, does it have more of its pros or cons? Do you think things are different for a male leader?
I mean, honestly, I we still live in a pretty patriarchal society.
Right.
And of course, there is a change that
Right.
you do
Right.
see coming up, where of course there are a lot of women entrepreneurs. Now you get to see. However, I feel like because of history and because of what's been happening for all these years, where we've always had, like, if you see the
Hmm.
tech space, if you see the
Hmm.
entrepreneurial space, women are there, they're coming up, but not in the numbers that you see. You know,
Yeah.
and I feel like even which is coming up, I don't have a female
Yeah.
guide today. I don't have someone that, who like, and I would love to have one. However, I haven't really found one in this space. Whereas I feel like for a man, that would have just been so easy anyway, because they could look at any industry and you'll always find someone. Whereas for us, we still, I mean, even though we are pushing the boundaries, we still have a way to go to reach that point where I could really be like, yes, I actually found 10 people to guide me. The two I resonated with, and this one maybe not, but this one had pretty good points. So I feel like, we still are fewer in numbers. However, we are pushing the boundaries. And I think that we're going to consistently be pushing that till we reach.
And being a woman and being a royal, do you think that there are any prejudices, uh, put against you? Because people have this
Yeah.
certain notion of a royal, right? And here I see a very, very energized entrepreneur, a social activist, an environmentalist. So, do you think that
Disney really
happens? Do you
ruins
have to
that for
face
us.
that as well? I like that
Honestly,
line.
with fairy tales and
Yeah.
romanticizing the idea of like what a royalty would look like or feel like or be like, of course it gets very hard and you're constantly torn between like, following your passion and being the workhorse that I am, and at the same time like having duties and people look at me a certain way
Yes.
and expect me to behave a certain way. And I'm like, you have to still, because one, you're born into a family and you have a couple of duties you have to perform, and two, you also have, I mean, for my dad, like, he was one of the first people to actually allow to do and pursue my passion as a man.
Right.
So behind, I feel like, there's a saying as well. One saying is, of course, behind every, because if the man is the head of the house, then the woman is the neck.
Yes.
And behind every successful woman, there's always a progressive man. And I
Progressive.
feel like for me, my father has definitely been that, because he was the one who literally he believed in me at when I was just a naive 23-year-old. And when I told him that I had plans for Belgaria Palace and I wanted to do these things, and he was like, okay,
Wow.
like, you want to do it, like, go ahead, like, I'm
Right.
going to let you do this. And there could be two ways. You could have also been like, oh, I mean, you're so young, like,
Yes.
what do you know about life? What do
Yes.
you know about running a business? You've just come out of college. And I had just come out of college. I had just relocated back to India, and it wasn't that easy because the transition was super hard for me.
Yes.
But the one thing that I did know that I wanted to do something with Bulgaria. That's the one thing that was very, very clear to me. And I feel like maybe at that time I was a bit like, I wasn't able to articulate myself really well. That's why I feel like I got into yoga, because that really helped me channel into my inner space and also, provide me with the guidance that I required in order to prioritize how I would do such a big project that I'd gone and taken up for myself. Because there are so many times when you're very torn between like, you got to live a certain way and appear a certain way. And you're also like that person who's like, okay, fine, I'm going to be like settling this room and this, and I'm going to get all these things together. So it is really hard, but I think that you need to find a middle ground where both of them work, because I can't go either or. I can't suddenly be like, no, I don't belong to this family and I give it all up, because that for me is not the way it should be. Because today, yes, I call myself like a millennial person from a royal family. I'm a millennial princess. Yes, I do have ambitions and goals, and I will pursue that. And you know what, the royal lineage, what it gives me, it actually gives me a platform to be able to voice my opinions, to be able to hold conversations with people, to be able to come onto platforms and share the knowledge that I have gained through my experiences. And the way I look at it. I don't look at it as being like, yes, of course, people have opinions, to really, be burdened by that. Okay.
So, what is the definition of an empowered woman for this millennial?
So the definition would definitely be empowered women empower other women. So, it's very important to understand that only when your glass is completely full will you be able to pour out information, empowerment, what to somebody else. But if you are working from a half full glass, you're not going to be able to give that kind of life. So coming from a place of being half full. So only when you reach that full potential and an empowered person, an empowered feeling, will you be able to transfer that to somebody else and wish well for that other person as well.
That is so true. That is so true. So, what is the plan for next 10 years for Belgadia Palace?
So I'm definitely going to be putting this on high gear. I am very interested in also making change. Very passionate, as well as a wellness enthusiast. I'm actually planning to host more retreats in Bulgaria. I want to get into the wellness space even more, be it like forest bathing or just retreats in general, Ayurvedic courses. And I really want to have that holistic build up as well for a couple of weekends in a couple of months of the year, and invite a lot more wellness enthusiasts into space.
Okay. Oh, that's great. Nice chatting with you. Very well. We look forward to having you with us for the awards. Thanks for taking time for us, and
thank you so much.
Accepting, to be there at the award ceremony. We look
Thank you. I'll see you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.